Wealth is not just about money. It's about philosophy, habits, and long-term thinking. Poverty is rarely just a money problem. It's a thinking problem, wrapped in habits, reinforced by years of excuses. You can take everything away from a wealthy thinker, and they'll find a way to get it back. But you can give a fortune to a poor thinker, and it'll vanish like smoke on a windy day. Why? Because money doesn't stay where it's not respected. And poverty doesn't leave where it feels at home. The good news? What's learned can be unlearned. What's broken can be rebuilt. You see, the great tragedy isn't that people start out poor. That's how most of us begin. The tragedy is when people stay there generation after generation because no one ever taught them that the first currency isn't dollars, it's discipline. The second is awareness. And the third, responsibility. Now, don't misunderstand me. There are real obstacles in the world, but there's one thing worse than having obstacles: blaming them. The minute you let someone else's decision determine your destiny, you've surrendered the keys to your future, and that's why the cycle repeats. So today I want to talk to you, not just about why poor people stay poor, but how you can fix it. Not with magic, not with a miracle, but with mindset, habits, and choices. Because poverty begins in the mind, shows up in your daily routine, and grows in the soil of neglect. Fix the thinking, and the finances follow. Let's begin. Let me tell you something I learned a long time ago. If you don't have a vision for your life, I promise you, you're already living in someone else's team. And most of the time, the people you end up working for, they had one. They wrote it down. They built it brick by brick, day by day, thought by thought. The great tragedy is that most people drift. They wake up each morning not to build, but to react. Not to advance, but to survive. That's the silent poison of poverty, no plan, no picture, no path. Now, vision isn't just about seeing the future, it's about creating it. It's about looking ahead 5 years, 10 years, and saying, here's who I'll become, here's what I'll earn, here's what I'll give, and here's the life I will build. Most people never do that. They're too busy putting out daily fires to sit down and light a long-term flame. But if you want to get wealthy, really wealthy, not just money in the bank, but freedom in your spirit, you've got to design that life in advance. I remember being broke, not just financially, but mentally. My pockets were empty, and so was my calendarno goals, no direction. I worked all day, came home tired, and repeated the same thing every morning. Then someone asked me a question that changed everything. Where are you going? And I realized I didn't know. I had no blueprint, no target. That day, I sat down with a blank piece of paper and started writing my future. I asked myself, quote, what do I want my life to look like 5 years from now? Not what someone else wanted, for me what I wanted. You've got to do the same. Take out a sheet of paper, write down your 5-year wealth vision. How much do you want to earn? Be specific. Don't write more money. That's vague, and the brain doesn't follow vagueness. Write, I want to earn $150,000 per year from my business. Or, I want to have $50,000 in investments. Add a giving goal, because generosity is part of wealth too. The wealthy think about impact, not just income. Then stretch that vision to 10 years. Picture your home, your freedom, your family vacations, your investments, the charities you support. You've got to see it so clearly that your mind starts treating it like it's already real. That's how the subconscious works. When you paint a vivid picture, it starts to make decisions that match that image. That's not magic. That's psychology. That's strategy. Now, understand this. Poor people live day to day. They ask, how do I get through today? Wealthy people live by design. They ask, how do I build tomorrow? And that starts with vision. It's the foundation. No skyscraper was built by accident. Somebody sat down with a blueprint and they worked on it for years, every floor, every beam, every detail. Your life should be no different. If you leave it to chance, you're choosing mediocrity by default. Your wealth journey doesn't start with money. It starts with imagination. So, the first rule is take responsibility for designing your future. Don't leave it to the economy, your boss. or your past. Pick up the pen, create a 5-year plan, create a 10-year plan, revisit it every month. That vision becomes your compass. And once you start walking in the direction of your dreams with clarity and purpose, life starts to align in your favor. That's the beginning of building real wealth, seeing it before you have it. Most people don't go broke because they didn't earn enough. They go broke because they spent more than they earned. And I'll tell you something I've learned over the years. Earning money is only half the equation. Keeping it, growing it, and using it wisely, that's where the difference lies. The tragedy is, so many people are caught in the trap of looking rich before they ever become rich. They spend money they don't have to impress people they don't even know, and then they wonder why their bank account feels like a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Let me be honest with you. Overspending is a silent killer. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up in little things, a streaming subscription you forgot about, that third coffee of the day, eating out 5 times a week instead of once. None of those things seem deadly by themselves, but they bleed you over time. Financial death doesn't always come with a bang. It comes drip by drip, month after month, year after year. And then suddenly you're broke, tired, and wondering where all the money went. And it didn't disappear, it leaked. Now let me share a simple philosophy that changed everything for me. Live on 70% of what you make. Just 70%, that's the magic number. The remaining 30%, divide it wisely. Save 10%, invest 10%, and give 10%. That's right, give. Because generosity shapes your heart, and a generous heart makes smarter financial decisions. I've never met a greedy person with lasting wealth. Wealth without purpose becomes a burden, not a blessing. When I first started practicing this rule, I wasn't making much. And let me tell you, it was hard. But I tracked every dollar. I made a basic budget, nothing fancy. Just a simple sheet where every expense had a name and a place. My notebook became my blueprint. I didn't guess where my money was going. I told it where to go. I watched my income like a hawk, and I plugged every hole. You'd be amazed how much freedom comes when you know where your money sleeps at night. A budget isn't about restriction, it's about intention. It's not about saying no to everything. It's about saying yes to the right things. And here's what I know. When you stop letting your money control you, and you start telling it what to do, you shift from surviving to building. Most people don't have a money problem, they have a decision-making problem. They're not broke, they're undisciplined. And let me tell you, if you can't manage $1,000, you won't manage $10,000. And if you can't manage $10,000, you'll blow through $100,000 faster than you can blink. Wealth magnifies your habits. If your spending is out of control now, more money won't fix it. It'll only accelerate the damage. That's why the 70 divided by 10 divided by 10 divided by 10 rule is a wealth building system disguised as simplicity. So, here's the fix. Track every dollar. Create a plan for every paycheck. Spend with purpose, not pressure. If you're constantly playing catch-up, you're building your financial life on sand. Build it on a foundation of margin and mindfulness. Build it with a plan. Live beneath your means. Grow the gap. Invest the difference. Money doesn't vanish, it leaks. And you're the one holding the bucket. Patch it up and watch your wealth begin to rise. One of the greatest mistakes I see people make, especially those stuck in a cycle of financial struggles, that they stop learning the moment they walk out of school, as if a diploma somehow marks the end of growth. But let me ask you something. Has your income ever outgrown your personal development? For most people, the answer is no, because income doesn't grow in a vacuum. It grows in proportion to who you become. That's a truth too many people ignore. They think, I've got a job, I clock in, I clock out, and that should be enough. But jobs pay you for what you dow wealth, pays you for who you become. And who you become is shaped by what you consistently learn. When I started out, I wasn't just broke financially, I was broke mentally. I had small ideas, limited thinking, and almost no exposure to real wealth principles. The job I had barely covered my bills. And I'll never forget the day someone handed me a book on financial literacy and said, "Read this, it might change the way you think." I was skeptical, but I read it anyway.